Now I know it's recording. You got the
Right. Welcome to Wine Down Wednesday with Eastward Ho. Today we are at Pali with winemaker Aaron Walker. And so what are we drinking today, sir?
well, one of our many different Pinot Noirs that we've produced over the years, but this is one of my standout favorites every year. It's our Pinot Noir that we produce from the Fiddlesticks Vineyard in Santa Rita Hills. It's a 2019, which is our current release, but it's a vineyard that we've, like I said, have a lot of history with, going back to 2006, making wine from this vineyard continuously since 2006.
Very cool.
Always one of my favorites.
Fantastic.
So we get 3 different clones off 3 different sections of the vineyard. Harvest them all individually when I decide that each clone is ripe and ready. Cheers.
Cheers.
And keep it separate throughout the fermentation and the barrel aging, and then we do the blending. After about 6 months of barrel age, we go through and pick out our favorite barrels, come up with our favorite blend. We usually produce about 200 cases in total, and it's a blend of the 3 different clones that we get. We've got Pomard, 667, and clone 115.
All right, fantastic. Well, so I know you do a single clone Pomard.
We have.
So tell us a little bit about that and a little bit about how it plays into the Fiddlesticks style. What is Pomard?
Pomard, well, it's one of the Dijon clones. It's, so there's many different clones that we can choose from when we're planting vineyards. When it comes to Pinot Noir, and each clone is going to give you different characteristics, different properties. Pomard tends to be very aromatic, a lot of perfume, maybe a little bit lighter in terms of mouthfeel and tannin. Whereas clone 667, which is another clone that we use in this blend, is going to be much darker and richer, darker in color. Even the skins of the grapes tend to be darker, and so you get more dark berries, those types of darker fruit flavors out of that clone. And so as an example, at our own estate vineyard, we have 7 different clones of Pinot Noir that we grow, and the reason being that each of them brings different things to the party, and we're able to blend them together and create hopefully just the kind of wine that we're setting out to make what we have in our mind versus what we end up with. When we have a lot of different options to blend with, it makes it easier to put together the perfect blend, hopefully.
Right, so it's like having a giant palette of colors, and then you just get to paint the masterpiece.
That's right. It's like that. It's like cooking. You've got a lot of different herbs, a spice rack approach kind of thing. And so, along those lines too, we use a combination of brand new French oak barrels from multiple different cooperages or barrel producers. And then we use older French oak barrels as well, and age the wine in this combination of newer and older French oak. And then again, we're able to have even more of a palette to choose from when we're doing our blending.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and so this wine, when it comes to the oak, we're looking at about 50% new French oak on average each year. That's about where we end up. And so half the barrels are brand new oak barrels, and then the other half are those older, previously used barrels that we age the wine in as well.
Awesome. Well, this, I can tell you right here firsthand, this is an amazing wine. I can tell you already that this is going to sit down and age magnificently, very much in its youth. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. It's very young. It's showing a lot of youthful, very fresh fruit flavors, but it has that backbone, the acidity, which is, this whole area of the Santa Rita Hills is known for producing wines with high acid, which allow wines to age very gracefully as well. It also gives us the benefit of allowing the grapes to ripen as much as we want. We can choose when to pick. Even at higher sugar levels, the acidity never goes away. In some other areas, in warmer areas, you tend to lose acid when the grapes get riper, but that's never the case here. We've almost never, maybe way back many years ago, have we ever had to add a little bit of acid to correct the pH or the TA a little bit, but it's, again, it's always high acid, even when we pick at riper levels in some years. And it's those reasons that allow the wine to age really well. And so it will shed this fresh berry fruit that we're tasting today. As it ages, it's going to lose those fresher flavors, but what you'll be left with is beautiful savory flavors. There's a lot of spice that we find in these wines, like cooking spices and even black tea and those more, umami type flavors.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally have never been to Fiddlesticks. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably haven't either. So tell me a little bit about Fiddlesticks.
Yeah, well, so it's not open to the public, so it's not a place that many people have visited, unless you're invited and know where to go. But it's in, you know, what I feel is
I can't just jump over the fence?
yeah, well, there's not much of a fence, and so you just have to find your way there. It's a very windy road to get out there, but it happens to be planted right in the heart of the Santa Rita Hills, which is about 15 miles east to west. It sits at famously mile marker 7.28, which the owner of the vineyard, she produces a wine that's called 728, and you know, so that just tells you it's right in the middle. It's not on the western edge or the eastern edge. And it's in just this beautiful sweet spot of the valley in the Santa Rita Hills, and it sits right across the road from the very first winery that was established in this area, which is Sanford Winery. So it's got literally right across the road, across Santa Rosa Road, is where Sanford is compared to Fiddlesticks. And then just above Fiddlesticks Vineyard on the hillside there is also Sea Smoke Vineyard, which is another well-known vineyard in the area. For me, this Fiddlesticks has always represented quintessential Santa Rita Hills Pinot Noir. It's when I think of Santa Rita Hills, when I think of Pinot Noir from this area, this is the vineyard that I go to every time.
Now, personally, Fiddlesticks was the very first Pinot Noir I ever had from the Santa Rita Hills. Now, it wasn't Aaron's kick-ass representation, but it really is such the essence. You can feel the love come out of the soil because it's.
Well, that's the part of it too. The farming is meticulous. The owner, Kathy Joseph, she planted the vineyard in the late 90s, 98, 99, and she's, during the growing season, definitely during harvest, she's out there, she's with the crews. It's about a 100-acre vineyard, so it's not a small vineyard, but she walks every row, she's looking at all the vines, and it shows when you're out in the vineyard, walking the vineyard. It's just picture perfect. You never have to request her to do things differently because she's always on top of it, and that makes all the difference, with making a very high class quality wine.
Right.
Yes, it's all about the farming and the site, right?
And then, I mean, the vineyard speaks for itself.
Exactly.
It's our job not to fuck it up.
Right, and that's the fun part too. Being a 100-acre vineyard, it is a vineyard that you'll find represented by multiple wineries. There's around 15 different wineries that purchase this fruit every year, and so you see different versions of Fiddlesticks depending on the winemaker. It's going to come out in a different style. We tend to like the bigger, richer fruit flavors in our Pinot Noirs. We want to showcase California and the sunshine that we get here, and so that's the style that we go for. But not everybody makes it in this style, but they're all beautiful wines, regardless.
They are.
Yeah,
definitely so. I've yet to have a bad one.
Exactly.
So what's your connection with Fiddlesticks? Why do you even make a Fiddlesticks?
It was one of the first wines that caught my attention when I was learning about wines before I got into winemaking, when I was working in restaurants back in the early 2000s. So not long after this vineyard was planted, I was just very early in my career, having kind of grown up in the restaurant world and discovered wines that way first. But as I started exploring the wines of this area, Fiddlesticks Vineyard was the one that really caught my attention, and it was one of the wines, and still is one of the wines that one of my my closest connection wineries, the Hitching Post wines, it was their version of Fiddlesticks that I remember tasting that was just a standout, amazing wine. And then as soon as I got into the wine business, wine production side of things, it's a vineyard that I've been fortunate enough to make wine from and work with the grapes from every single vintage since I started in my career, which was in 2006. And so I started out working for a different winery other than Pali. They were also producing a Fiddlesticks Pinot Noir. So that was my first harvest job in 06. A year later, I was hired by Pali, and I've been with the company ever since, but we've also made a Fiddlesticks Pinot every year since 2006. And so it's a vineyard that I had a connection with before I even started making wine, and then the fact that it's a vineyard, it's the only vineyard that I've worked with continuously since I started in winemaking. So I definitely feel very connected. Plus, I have had a wonderful, continue to have a great relationship with Kathy, the owner of the vineyard. That's very important too. You want to work with people that you enjoy working with, and
Of course.
So it's all about the farmers that we work with, and so we're very blessed, and I feel honored that I've been able to work with this vineyard for so long, especially because I feel so passionate about the quality that comes from this vineyard.
Of course. I mean, there's not a lot of people that can say they've worked with one vineyard, one varietal for their entire career.
Right. Yeah. And I probably won't be able to say that, assuming I stay in this business for many more years, which I intend to. At some point, I'm sure that that streak may end, but it's been a great run as it is.
Yeah. Well, Well, I can't say anything negative about this wine except for I'll take 10 Magnums.
Nothing negative about that, yeah. So just back your truck up, we'll load you up, yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
So I have to ask you
beautiful
one
wine,
last
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, of course.
So why are you here in the Santa Rita Hills?
Why?
What's your roots here?
Yeah, well, I'm native to Southern California. I grew up just about 3 hours south. You know, we're not that far north of Los Angeles, which is where I grew up, but it's a completely different world compared to Los Angeles. You know, it's definitely agricultural. You know, we're focused on ag, and the wine business is a big part of that. So, you know, being from Southern California, having lived in San Diego, gone to college down there as well, you know, I still feel like I'm part of Southern California, but I'm in a place where I want to be, where I'd much rather be, where it's, you know, a more rural landscape. And then, you know, it's the passion that drove me here, the passion to learn about winemaking. It was, you know, that's the only thing that got me out of San Diego back in 2006. I thought I'd live there my whole life, but then the wine bug bit me, and I became very interested in winemaking. And so my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, her father's one of the two owners and winemakers for Hitching Post Wines, and so my father-in-law was able to get my foot in the door. He introduced me to a few people in the area, and then, you know, we tried it out for a year. My wife Emily and I said we'd make the move up here, give it a year, see how it goes, and it was, I mean, I was instantly hooked as soon as I started doing the work in the cellar, and just, you know, even the menial work. I loved it. I couldn't wait to get up and do it again the next day, even if I'd worked 12 hours, 14 hours a day before. You know?
Well, that's the best.
It's the passion, you know, absolutely. And then just the fact that being in a beautiful part of the state here, you know, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to start a family here and plant roots, no pun intended. But, you know, very blessed, very fortunate, and still feel like I'm part of Southern California, which is much different than Northern California. And, you know, I have connection to Southern California more than I do the North. So it all makes sense.
Well, cheers to that.
Cheers, absolutely.
I'm sure harvest is a hell of a time of year in your house with two winemakers there.
Yeah, you know, my wife grew up around it, so she knows what to expect this time of year, that I won't be around as much as she'd like me to, but it's all part of the deal. And then, you know, the rest of the year things go back to a normal schedule, and we get to enjoy the fruits of our labor.
Hey,
Another
you know
pun.
what?
Yes.
It's the best part of it.
That's right. That's why we do it. So, but, you know, being able to sit down and enjoy these wines and share them with other people that appreciate these wines is, you know, definitely a big part of the process and the reward of putting in so much hard work during the harvest season. So yeah, it's tiring, and there's a lot of hours spent away from home during this time of year during the harvest, but it's very rewarding, and it's the most exciting part of the process too. Is this time of year.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I have to ask you, what's the wine that got you into the wine industry?
The wine that got me into the wine industry, I mean, Hitching Post was obviously very influential, and when I was learning about wine and dating my now wife at the time, those are a lot of the wines that I was exposed to that weren't widely available, especially back then. One of the first wines that I remember, and it was working in the restaurant in San Diego that I was at for about 5 years. It exposed me to wine and got me passionate about wines. But I remember, you know, the '97 vintage cabs from Napa really made me stand up and pay attention. And there was specifically the Heights Cellars Martha's Vineyard that I remember in '97 that really spoke to me. And I was just like, what is this? I want more of that. So, and you know, as the years have gone on, my palate has developed and changed a bit, and that's not a wine that I drink on a regular occasion these days. I mean, I'd certainly not turn it away if it was offered to me, but you know, we're more Pinot Noir focused, and so that's more where my palate lies these days. And this is definitely one of my go-to wines is our Fiddlesticks Pinot, year in and year out.
I mean, you can never go wrong with the '97 Napa Cab, let alone a Heights Martha's Vineyard. You put them two together. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you are working in the wine industry after tasting that.
Yeah. Or if you're smart, you just find a better paying job where you can buy those wines on a regular basis. But,
well, we all have our position in life.
We don't get into this. Yeah, it wasn't the money that attracted me to the winemaking business. But
exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all the other things. Yeah.
My Wednesday night bottle is not a 47 Cheval Blanc.
Right. Well, if it were, I'd be coming to hang out with you on Wednesday. So.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, cheers to a great Wednesday. And you know what? I couldn't have been happier to be joined by Aaron and enjoying the fantastic Fiddlesticks by Pali. And please send me a message and I'll make sure to get you a bottle of this Fiddlesticks into your hands.
Very limited production, less than 200 cases made, so.
Less
it
than
will
200
sell out.
cases,
Yeah.
you know, first few that get to me, they're gonna get it. The second few, I'm sorry.
They'll be your cellar, yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for visiting us. It's been a pleasure having you here as well.
Oh, it's been a pleasure being here.
Yeah.
I couldn't have been happier.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. Happy Wednesday.
Cheers. Son. Now we just drink.
I know. Tastes great. I was worried that we wouldn't have this bottle of wine here. I was like, shit. Tell me you recorded it.